Hi, Michelle here, and welcome to day 8 of the Content Mojo Challenge. This is officially the halfway mark. Not only that, it's a really cool day because we moved from creating a blog, which I think a lot of us have struggled with this week, and considering the things that have happened in the world as a whole, it's not really a surprise. I think we've all had a little bit of an upset week, if that makes sense. So concentrating just on the blog has been a little bit of a challenge for many of us, including me. Now, mine's it's basically finished. It hasn't been properly edited, and I just have to throw up an image. I have actually put it on my website, but I haven't put the image with it, I'll do that when I get off this call with you. So if you haven't, I don't think I've seen anybody's link to their blog post yet, so I will endeavour to put the link to my blog post into the group within an hour of posting this video. It will probably still need a little bit of editing after I put it up, but I still want to start putting it out there because I've got to lead the way. And I haven't seen anyone else's links yet, so at least I don't think I have. So I'll have to have a poke around later. There might be some up there. All right. So we've got this blog post, or many of you, like me, have got an almost finished blog post that's sort of looking okay. What we want to do this week is think about how to repurpose that content. And repurposing just means put it in a format that we can send it out to our followers on the web. Find ways where this great thing that we've created, this thing that we want people to come and read, to attract people to our website, to start getting traffic and ultimately selling our services or our products or build our community or whatever it is your goal is. That can only happen when people visit your website as a rule. So in order to make that happen, we need to find ways of putting that out there to tell people that it's even there, like the best kept secret otherwise, under the bed, and no one will even know that you ever wrote it if you don't do something about it. So you can do something simple like just copy the link from your blog post, like we'll all do, hopefully, and paste it in Facebook to people who are already on your Facebook page or a Facebook group that you have, or share it amongst people in other social media. Or you could run a pay-per-click campaign on Google using Google AdWords to promote it. Or you could do the same in Facebook and run a pay-per-click campaign. But all of those things, they're going to cost you money. And mind you, if you really want a big hit on things, it's when you do stuff that costs you money that you get it quickly. You get that if you do it properly, you can get it quickly. But if you use repurposed content, which is what we're going to talk about this week, where we create other little bits of content, generally images, but not always images, and that's not all we'll talk about. Then you have it's sort of a more exciting way for people to trip across your content and then come and see you on your website and come and read the rest of it. You get them sort of interested and a little intrigued, if you like. So for those of you who haven't done this already, and I think most of the people doing it this time actually did it last time, which is even worse for the reason because we have not been able to get our blog posts quite done as well as we'd like. Outside influences to a degree, but anyway, it's a crazy time of year, and I assume our December challenge will be a bit like that too. So we're all going to need to stand up straight and try and get the December challenge done a little bit better than this one. However, I digress yet again. Now, one of the things that we will be creating in images is a quote, and when I say a quote, generally I mean pulling out different quotes from your website, pasting them on an appropriate image. Now, over in the Resource Centre on the website, I actually have a little video on how to use Canva. And Canva is my go-to image editor. And it's great because it gives you the different sizes as well. So a lot of the platforms, including your blog, will have different size dimensions. And so you can actually say, well, I'm doing a Facebook post. So I'll click on the Facebook one. It'll actually give you like a canvas to work on that's already the right size, which is awesome. It used to be one of the most annoying things in the past when it came to creating images for social media, was to get those images the right dimensions, because they were actually quite picky about it, and it wouldn't even look very good if you got it wrong. So that's great. When you're in Canva, it'll give you a whole bunch of ideas and different images that you can use. Some of them free, some $1, and it'll give you the ability to upload your own image as well. And in the Resource Centre, there's a whole bunch of resources for you to go and get some of your own images for free. Other people's images, but to get them for free. You can use your own images as well. So pictures that you've taken, you can upload those. And then there's a whole bunch of different text and font and styles and all of that kind of stuff as well. It's great fun to play with, actually, and it's not too complicated. At least I don't find it too complicated at all. Hopefully the little video that I put up will give you some hints as to how to use it. So you go grab a quote from your blog post. There should be at least one, if not multiple, and you put that on an appropriate image. So an image that, well, we use this word all the time, but it pops. So when people see it in their social feeds, they go, oh, that's very bright coloured, or oh, that statement was quite profound, or something. So you go and grab a quote from your blog post, put it on the image, you've got a quote. And you can then take that and you can put that in your social media feed. Or you could even send it an email, or you could do whatever. But you've got this this piece of property now, marketing collateral we call it, which you can now use to share your fantastic blog post. What I would caution you is that you don't forget to put a link to your blog post. Actually, in the copy or in the text, whenever you paste it into your social media, that you actually write the link, put the link in, so that people actually know where to go in order to find any more information out about this particular cool quote that you've put up, because you've sort of piqued their interest. Don't forget that. And that's one of the things that many of us do from time to time. We forget the most obvious things. So you need to think a little bit about how to craft that copy that would go with the image, but you could do it. It doesn't even have to be much more than a sentence, or you can be longer. It's up to you. And then you shoot people over to your website to read more of your fantastic content. You can also use quotes from other people. I haven't looked at what to do with mine, and I'll be doing some of that today. The last one that I did, challenge, I used a quote actually in my blog post from a famous person, a famous philosopher. So that was easy for me. I could just grab that one and put it on the image. You can go, all you have to do is write in whatever your topic is, and then put quote into Google, and you'll get all of these websites who list lots and lots of famous quotes, which you can use. So you grab it and then you put it on, again, an appropriate image, and you put whoever it was from underneath it. Just make sure that it has the person's name. And I'm sure your feeds in social media, especially on Facebook, are full of that kind of thing anyway, so you'll be very familiar with those kind of quotes, which then pulls me on to the next image thing that I would like to see you create, and that's a meme. So they're not so much quotes from famous people, but just, profound statements. If you get outside and run, you will feel happy and healthy. Or I suppose the just do it is actually a quote from Nike, but it's kind of like a meme really as well. So that's supposed to be those kind of, they're kind of statements about life that if you really think about it, it's often quite obvious, but could be quite profound as well. So think about that. So memes, again, they're probably filling your social media feeds at this moment, because we all have friends who, that's all they post. They just post memes and quotes from other people. So try and find a meme or try and think of a meme, I should say. I think in the last one, I had a picture of a child who was covered in ice cream, and I just wrote something like, I can look like this because my mum, or I can get messy or something like that because my mum's an entrepreneur, because that was sort of the basis of the blog post. So think a little bit about it, and make it fun. I think memes can be really fun. Obviously, they can also be very profound and very, thought-provoking. That's probably a good word for it. So you've got 3 very simple ways to create an image, which you can then use to promote your blog post in social media, usually, but it could be in email, it could be wherever. The next one is an infographic. Now, infographics tend to be well, they're images, they're often quite tall images, that's why I'm doing that, they're quite long images. And if you go into Canva, they have like a template for an infographic. They have a bunch of them actually. And you kind of graphically represent your blog post, usually in a way that includes some kind of statistical format, which sort of sounds confusing. But so, for example, in my last one, I found a statistic from the Australian Bureau of Statistics about women who start businesses, or mothers who start businesses. And so I was able to take that number and turn it into like a pie chart and create a couple of cool little images, and which were based on fact, which I had found evidence, and then turned it into like an infographic. And they're very popular to share. In fact, they're very popular in places like Pinterest, because what they do is take the information you've provided in a really long blog post, and they put it down there, distill it into just this sort of an infographic is what it's called. So it's basically taking the information from the blog post and turning it into a graphical representation. And a lot of people find that easier to digest. But it also can be the thing that sparks people to go and read your blog post, because you've got the images of some of the content from your blog post, or maybe you're even able to encapsulate the whole thing into some sort of infographic. But people then want more detail, so they'll click on the link and come over to your website and read the rest of it. Yay! So that's infographics. The next thing I want to talk about, which I was very proud, many of you actually took this on, and it was new to many of you. So creating slideshows. So creating slideshows, it may seem a little complicated, but it's not really. And there are lots of places that you can go and put those slideshows as well, which are they're kind of like social media of their own, but they're a little bit more. They're a little bit more specific, because they are slideshows. So people tend to go there to get like how to do stuff, or to find out the kind of teaching mode, if that makes sense. So often a slideshow is created because somebody's going to stand in front of an audience and present. Okay, so there's two ways you can do it. Now, for us at the moment, it might be having images and a little bit of text, your bullet points and things like that, which if somebody reads it and you're not there to talk to it, that they will still get the idea of what you're talking about, okay? So that's one way. Of course, when I'm presenting, I quite often try not to have too many bullet points and things, because it's actually more what I say. I want people to concentrate on that, not taking lots of notes. And we've all been in those incredibly boring presentations where it's just all notes, and you just sort of, you get glazed, and it's not much fun. The problem with that in a slideshow in this, what we're talking about, creating slideshows and putting them on other websites where people can access them, is that when you do that in this format, it's not going to mean much to anybody if all you do is have a whole bunch of slides that just have images. They won't really understand what it's about unless your images are so good that they already demonstrate that. But in saying that, if you do have a slideshow that's only images and really no words, we can use that to create a video. So there are two ways you can do the slideshows. One with basically all images, one with images and words. I wouldn't necessarily do one with just words, although you could, especially if they were just, not very many words on a slide, for example. And then, so you've got the slideshows. You're going to put them into the slideshow websites, which are all in the Resource Centre. And then people will actually find them. That is another way that people will find them. You can also share the link to those slideshows into your social media. And but the next step, or the next kind of repurposed content, which is video, is where slideshows really come into their own, in my opinion, when it comes to creating repurposed content. You can create a video from your slideshow, and it's a reasonably easy thing to do. Again, there's different instructions and things in the Resource Centre to show you how to do that. So if you had created a slideshow which was just images and very little text, then you can create the video and talk to the video as if you were presenting, a little bit like me now if I was talking to a slideshow and recording this. Now have a video with me presenting the content from my blog. And that is really powerful because video has been shown to be pretty much the highest thing that is consumed on the web. So if you have ways that you can create video in order to share your message, your content, get people over to your website, then it is definitely worth finding ways that you can do that in some kind of streamlined fashion. And this is one way. So not only can you turn those videos that are just images, they're more image-based slides, into video, you can also turn your slides that had more text on it, of course, and you can either talk to it. So those ones you can still talk over the top of it. What's the word? Anyway, you can still talk to them as if you were teaching the slides or creating a presentation, or you can just put music under. If the slides in your deck stand up on their own because of the words you've chosen, then you can just put music. Like I think Gavin did that in our last. Somebody did, maybe Frankie might have done it too. I know a few of you had a go at it, which was awesome, fantastic. So you could just put music underneath, and it could just be a short 2 or 3 minute video. I would caution you that if you want actually people to consume the video that you're doing, try not to make it too long, because that can be one of the things that puts people off. But again, that would be a testing thing. You can test whether you get more interaction from your audience with a video that's 2 minutes long versus a video that's 10 minutes long. And it just might depend on your audience. And sometimes people, especially if you're teaching stuff, are actually really interested in you going into detail and showing as much as you can, or teaching them as much as you can, so that they can learn whatever it is skill that you're trying to teach them. So that is slideshows and videos, and they are very exciting, and they sound really scary, but of course they are not. You could also just create video like I am. Like I'm doing face to camera video live on Facebook. I can then download it. It'll show up live, as you know, in the Facebook group, and then I can upload it into YouTube. And then I can use it to share across the webs. I could edit it and put in a nice little like a logo and a link and an intro and outro, and I could do all these other funky things with it as well. I could send it off to one of my staff and ask them to do that, which is probably the cleverer thing to do rather than using my time. So there are a bunch of things that I could do, and you could too, in order to tap into the video market. The other thing I forgot to mention at the very beginning is branding. Really, really important, I think, if you can, to at least put your logo or even just your the URL to your website a little bit inconspicuous on your images and on your slideshows and on your infographics and even in your video, if you can find a way to do that. And I guess if you've put it in a slideshow, it'll be easy enough. Just because then it's always yours. So no matter where it goes on the web, people will be able to link that back to you. Anyway, so that's a good idea, because it helps get your brand out there as well. Just don't make it too, overt. It needs to be a bit more covert, so a little bit less in your face and just subtle. So you often see I put the Mission Mojo logo with a little white circular kind of background, usually in an image somewhere, or it just kind of sits around. So it's not really too over the top. So that's important. Now the last thing is audio. So again, if you are doing something like I'm doing now, I can take that audio out, especially if I'm speaking to it. So if you were speaking to your slide and presenting it as if you were presenting in front of an audience, you can take that audio out, and then you can shoot that audio around the web. You could you could create your own podcast based just on audios taken out of videos, which is what people actually do, believe it or not. There are a bunch of podcasts out there which are created automatically by people who do something like this, not necessarily live, but I guess it could be live, and then the audio is taken out and it is then used as a podcast. Or of course you could just read your blog post and create an audio that way as well. So there are lots of different ways that you can do this. Now, and they obviously, the reason we're doing it is so that we can then share it in social media and get more traffic to your website. But one of the other things, because I'm a qualified teacher, that's how I sort of started my working life. And one of the things we learned there was that we all have different modalities to learn. So I might be better in visually. I might be better because I like to look at images and things like that, or even videos. Therefore, this week is quite good for me because I quite like that sort of thing. Some people are much better reading. They get the context of what's going on much better when they read. Other people, they do like to watch videos, and again, it works better for them. And other people, just audio is fine. So there are even reasons underneath what we're doing to not just get people, although that's the main reason, but when you put it in all these different modalities or different ways to get your message across, you're going to hit more people. You're going to actually have more people go, oh, I can understand this because it's in an audio, and I really like to listen to audio when I'm cleaning the house, that kind of thing. So Frankie's there. So Frankie said, well, that's not really a surprise. She gets the context much better when she's reading, and that's not really a surprise because she's a writer. So I'm not surprised at all. So that is cool. Right, has anyone got any questions about this week coming up? It can be a challenging week for those of you who haven't done much image things, or creating a video or a slideshow can be a little bit daunting, especially if it's new things that you're trying to pick up and it's a little bit techie. I would suggest that you start with the images first, mostly because when you go and create images, number one, it's a little bit easier perhaps than creating the slideshow and the video to start out with. But those images then can go in a folder on your computer, and they can be used when you're promoting this blog post all over the place. And they can even be used when you're promoting the video. If you create a video, they can be used when you create, if you were to create a podcast, or if you were just to share the audio. The actual images that you create, you'll be able to dip into that marketing collateral folder that you create with a bunch of images, and you'll be able to choose an image that you think is appropriate and be able to use it when it comes to marketing. So you're kind of creating, or we call it marketing collateral. So you're creating a folder full of awesome bits of content that you can, or awesome images that you can use in order to promote your stuff on the web. And it becomes a very valuable asset. So, well, maybe I should change that to marketing assets. You're creating marketing assets rather than marketing collateral. It's also easier to say. So that's the aim of this week. If you start with the images, then at least you are going to be building those assets, and you'll find it a little bit less daunting than some of the other things with technology. Although I'm here, I can help you out with that. In saying all of that and everything I've said for the last 27 minutes, or 25 minutes, tomorrow I'm going to run a webinar. And the webinar has been inspired partly by Frankie, because she suggested it would be a very good idea to talk about, and I suppose it goes back to modalities as well, which is what we were talking about a minute ago, and how people learn. Some people are not so good at creating images. Well, I find I'm challenged by that statement, mostly because my mother is an art therapist. So she's always been an artist. So I've always had art and creative people around me. And if I have ever said to her, I'm not very creative, Mum, she would have just like, everybody's creative. Everybody can do it. She just doesn't compute. It doesn't make any sense to her. So, however, I do know that some people find the actual creation of the image, and it's more the creative process, either a struggle or a challenge, or they just don't feel confident with the things that they come up with. And I do believe, like my mum, that all of us have the ability to create fantastic images that do look good, but it will be a real struggle for you to begin with. So as business owners, what we are trying to do, though, is leverage. Whenever we can find a leverage point, it's really important. So Frankie suggested that I teach you a little bit about how to outsource the image creation. And I can indeed show you some techniques and what you might do in order to get some images created for you that you're happy with. And that's really one of the main problems, is being happy with it. So it would mean that instead of you spending some time creating some images, you spend a little bit less time instructing someone else to create the images for you. So tomorrow I think I put down it was at 9 o'clock, but I'll send out another email. Might send out 2 more in order to make sure that you all know when it's on. And I'll also put it in the Facebook group. I might even put it in the Facebook page to come along tomorrow to the webinar. Of course, it'll be recorded, so if you can't make it, it's Sunday morning here. It'll be Saturday night on the other side of the world. And I'll just step you, it won't be a very long webinar because it's not really that complicated, but I will step you through how to outsource some images so that you can still create your marketing assets, put them in a folder on your computer that you can use to promote your business, and there'll be images that you're happy and proud of, which was one of the main things Frankie and I were talking about this week when we had a call, was people just if you're not happy with your creative skills and your the things that you actually create, that you know you're not happy with them, and then you won't be you'll be a little bit reticent. You'll be resisting putting them out into the web because you're not as proud of them as you want to be. So you're pretty proud of your blog post, but you're not as proud of the actual images that you're using to promote your blog post, and we don't want that. So in order to leverage your time better to the skills that you are good at, which I would say you can develop some of these, but there are other things you can be doing as well in your business. I will teach you tomorrow how to outsource some of this and see whether some of you can't start creating a bucket load of content, so that by the end of next week, when we have that competition and we add it all up, we'll see who has the most pieces of repurposed content. And in saying that, I don't mind if that repurposed content is created by you or somebody else. That's okay. It's fine, because the aim of the game is to fill up that marketing resource folder on your computer so that you can use it to promote things, your business, to promote your blog post, to promote everything that you're doing. So that's the important bit. So as most pieces that you can get, whether you created them or someone else created them, that's awesome. That's the aim of this game. So there you go. Now, do you have any questions? Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. I don't know if I'm still trying to decide if I'll do a check-in in the morning, because I think I had the check-ins are normally at 8 o'clock in the morning for me, and I've got the webinar, I think, for 9. So I might still do the check-in. I'll see. Depends on how you're all going and whether you need a check-in or not tomorrow morning, because I'll have the webinar going on. So the webinar will be run in a service called Zoom, and you literally just click on the link at the appropriate time and it will just open up the meeting room, and we can all be in there. And you'll be able to talk to me too if you want. I've turned the video off so that you'll see me, but you won't have to worry about getting dressed up yourself unless you want to. And I would be able to, I think I can turn the videos on from inside once the meeting started if anybody wants to have their video on too. So, which I'd be more than happy to see all your beautiful faces. But anyway, that's tomorrow. If there are no questions, I will go and get an image ready for my blog post, because I haven't put one on it yet. And I probably should edit it, because I haven't done that either. I don't know what happened this week. It's been a mad week for all of us, but yeah, these things happen. All right, so no more questions? No questions? It's all good. Thumbs up. You're all excited about this week. A week of creating marketing assets to fill up your social media feeds and your marketing folder on your computer, which you should have. Excellent. Fantastic. All right. Take care. Have a fabulous evening if you're on the other side of the world, and a fantastic day if you're, near me. Ciao.